Habakkuk, one of the minor prophets, is only 3 chapters long in the Old Testament, but he has quite a powerful message in those 3 chapters. First, Habakkuk is unlike some of the other prophets we studied in that there is no call story, no biographical sketch of when we find out that God has called this person to a life of prophecy. Instead, what we get is a designation in the very first verse, the oracle that the prophet Habakkuk saw. From this, scholars assume that Habakkuk might have been one of those professional prophets, those who do it for money and probably are connected to the temple. We also find that Habakkuk asks a very modern-day, contemporary question, why? Like many of us today, first Habakkuk questions God's inaction in intervening in the evils of the world, and then when God does choose to intervene, Habakkuk questions God's actions. That is one of the central themes of Habakkuk, the question that we see in all the bookstores today, why do bad things happen to good people? Where is God when it hurts? The question Habakkuk is asking is, how can we maintain a belief in a God who has a just rule over this world when we see around us an unjust world? In this questioning of God's actions or lack of actions, we see great similarities to the biblical character of Job. As you recall, Job had quite a few complaints to lobby to God in this dialogue that goes back and forth between Job and God. First, Job's asked the question, why has all this suffering happened to me when I feel it is undeserved? And then you remember God answers out of the whirlwind, where were you when I created the world? But Job's questioning about justice and God's intervention in the world is on a more personalized, individualized level. Habakkuk is asking on the behalf of a nation, of the people of God. The 2 main questions why that Habakkuk asks, the first one comes in the form of a lament. Why does God fail to act when there is injustice all around in Judean society? Habakkuk points out that it happens not only in the political realm, but in the economic realm, as well as the judicial system. Here is Habakkuk's first lament. O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not listen? Or cry to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see wrongdoing and look at trouble? Destruction and violence are before me, strife and contention arise. So the law becomes slack, and justice never prevails. The wicked surround the righteous. Therefore judgment comes forth perverted. God chooses to answer Habakkuk's question by this. Look at the nations and see. Be astonished. Be astounded. For a work is being done in your days that you would not believe if you were told. For I am rousing the Chaldeans, that fierce and impetuous nation who march through the breadth of the earth to seize dwellings not their own. Dread and fearsome are they. Their justice and dignity proceed from themselves. Their horses are swifter than leopards, more menacing than wolves at dusk. Their horses charge. Their horsemen come from far away. They fly like an eagle, swift to devour. They all come for violence. With faces pressing forward, they gather their captives like sand. Then they sweep by like the wind. They transgress and become guilty. Their own might is their God. As you can imagine, Habakkuk is not pleased with the answer as to why God has not intervened in the injustice in the nation. When God answers that the Chaldeans, who happen to be an ethnic group from Babylonian, will soon invade and punish the evildoers, then we find Habakkuk asking why. Why would you use such an evil and corrupt people to redeem your own good people? Habakkuk is often considered and called by scholars a prophet of transition, and there are 2 ways in which Habakkuk is involved in transition. The first is in the time period in which Habakkuk was living and writing. He is right in the middle of the time between when the Assyrians had dominated Judah and right before the Babylonians begin to invade and occupy Judah. All of this happens probably in the time of the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II, and we believe that some of these words are written in the final days before the temple in Jerusalem falls in 587 BC. We find that Habakkuk is waiting for God to answer this question, and he stands at a watchtower. And these are some of the most famous words from chapter 2 in Habakkuk. I will stand at my watchpost and station myself on the rampart. I will keep watch to see what he will say to me and what he will answer concerning my complaint. Here is God's answer. Write the vision. Make it plain on tablets so that a runner may read it. For there is still a vision for the appointed time. It speaks of the end and does not lie. If it seems to tarry, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Look at the proud. Their spirit is not right in them, but the righteous live by their faith. Most of the prophets are speaking on behalf of God to the people. Habakkuk is speaking on behalf of the people to God. That is the other transition that we find in Habakkuk's life. In prophetic dialogue, in people like Isaiah and Jeremiah, we find them speaking a proclamation that God will bring judgment upon them for their evil ways. Now we are moving into what's called wisdom speculation in a more modern contemporary thought, where Habakkuk is actually questioning God and speaking to God on behalf of the people. As you and I continue to contemplate the age-old question of why do bad things happen to good people, and where is God in this world, we remember as Habakkuk's quote, "How long, O Lord, will the unjust rule the earth, and how shall we live?" We hear the words of the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Romans when he quotes Habakkuk. The one who is righteous will live by faith. The final words of Habakkuk bear out this truth. Though the fig tree does not blossom, and no fruit is on the vines, though the produce of the olive falls and the fields yield no food, though the flock is cut off from the fold and there is no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will exult in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and makes me tread upon the heights. May it be so.